The police imposter saga that turned the police service into an institution of ridicule after Joshua Waiganjo beat them at their own game exposed the vulnerability of the force. And while the mystery of how Waiganjo impersonated a top cop remains unresolved, it left the police service exposed to public scrutiny and revealed the infighting within the service. This is where the story begins. 8 days into this year, the National Police Service Commission, through the chairman Johnston Kavuludi, suspended 3 senior police officers. Among them was Rift Valley Provincial Police Chief John Bijiwe over the Waiganjo controversy.
I attended the funeral of the relative of Waiganjo, which I was photographed with him. I indeed saw, just like any other person attending the funeral of a friend.
This was a verbal suspension made at a press conference attended by, among others, the Police Inspector General David Kimaiyo. Francis Kimemia, then the head of public service, communicated a presidential directive to set up an investigation over the incident that embarrassed the service. This was back in January, before the supremacy and power games played out, exposing deep divisions within the police service.
To what extent they said Mr. Waiganjo is privy of confidential security information?
On the 31st of January, the National Police Commission again exercised its mandate to transfer and reshuffle the service. Former police spokesman Eric Kiraire moved to Airports Authority as a general manager in charge of security. Kiraire was to be replaced by an instructor at the Kenya Police Training College in Kiganjo, Anthony Munga.
Itakuja julikana ni kwa nini.
Charles Owino, the then deputy police spokesman, was then moved to internal affairs as a director to deal with police complaints. Cecily Gatiti was to take charge of the human resource. She was previously a director at the Kiganjo Training School. She was to replace Charlton Mureithi, who is now the Northeastern PPO. For a long time, Mureithi was the one in charge of police deployment, transfers and reshuffle. Sources at Vigilance House say the deployment was halted by Police Inspector General David Kimaiyo, who is now seeking for powers to transfer, appoint and reshuffle, which currently and explicitly rests with the National Police Service Commission.
Good morning, sir.
The question is, why didn't Kimaiyo raise a finger when the National Police Commission suspended Mbijiwe and 2 others in his presence? What laws were invoked by the Commission at that time, and was that a lawful act, or did the Commission act beyond its powers? Was that law different from that which reshuffled and transferred the Charles Owino group? The real power play between the Commission and the Inspector General, however, manifested itself after the transfers of OCPDs to trouble spots, as insecurity around the country reached an alarming level.
The reforms does not say that you sack people. The reforms is to say you improve from where we are to a better service to the members of public.
During his reign, Army Major General Hussein Ali is said to have preferred to work with personnel from the General Service Unit background. When he left, he is said to have advised the department to settle on an officer of GSU training, and that's how Matthew Itere succeeded him. After Itere came David Kimaiyo, and so for 3 successive reigns, the GSU have been on top of things at Vigilance.
Mole Kimaiyo.
But it's never been easy for David Kimaiyo, whose quest to be a commissioner began years ago, but infighting in the force and favoritism blocked him for a number of years. After the coalition government was formed, Kimaiyo was unceremoniously moved to the Ministry of National Heritage as an assistant secretary before finding his way to the Kenya National Focal Point on Small Arms and Light Weapons as a coordinator. According to sources, for a number of years, the General Service Unit where Kimaiyo belongs have felt suppressed and are seeking to pay back in every possible way, including strategically positioning themselves within the force, something that can only happen if the powers are bestowed on the Inspector General. So why would one want his own people watching his back? If it's not for efficiency, then it's to gain control and to benefit from that control. This has resulted into a loud disquiet within the Utumishiko Water Department, and 3 reasons are fronted as the cause: the attempt by the General Service Unit to wrestle control from the regular police through the 3 successive raids at Vigilance House, the war between the reform-minded, who are said to be educated lot in the force, and those for the status quo, and lastly the tribal inclination taking precedence over the qualifications and ability. Sources suggest that the reluctance among the junior officers who collude with criminals is a way to protest against the high-handedness within the top leadership.
Instead of them talking at each other, they should talk to each other. They should actually be reading from the same script.
The Line Parliamentary Committee believes that David Kimaiyo should call the shots in every possible way, but that may also be the last straw that could break the camel's back. But why did a constitutional dispute end up in Parliament and not in court to seek a constitutional interpretation? Many in the force would prefer that Kimaiyo's role remains as it is. Ken Mijungu, NTV.